Hey, it's Brian Bennett with Multiply Leaders. I'm going to walk you through in this webinar our weekly planning tool called our Weekly Planner 2.0, which is a shortened version of our original planner to make it more effective and more printer friendly. Here's 7 tips for planning your week before we jump into our system that we've created. The first thing is this, is to use one system for organizing your thoughts. So we don't want is to have 3 notepads on our desk that we're keeping track of things on, and 3 sticky notes, and maybe a planner or an organizer as well. The more tools that we use to keep track of everything, the more likelihood that we're going to start forgetting things, and things are going to start to slip because we forgot that sticky note somewhere, and we lose track. So we want to have one system for capturing and organizing all of our thoughts. The second thing is this: when we have clarity, we lead more effectively and we lead with less anxiety. So when the fullness of all the inputs, the meetings, the voicemails, the emails, everything that comes our way on a daily basis, it's easy to start to feel anxious when we're leading as we try to capture all these things and respond effectively, so we're not dropping the ball and our teammates don't start doubting our ability to follow through, so that they can have confidence in our leadership. When we have clarity, we lead with more effectively, which means we have to have a system that helps us get clarity and that we can be confident in. The third thing is this, is to start by asking yourself, what will move the vision forward? So we want to start with vision whenever we're planning our week, our day, our year. We want vision to drive everything. And we want vision to drive everything down to the daily level, so that the choices, the decisions, the conversations we're having on a daily basis are rooted in the vision. That's so significant for being an effective organization, whether we're a ministry or a business, whatever we are. We want to lead from vision. Number 4 is to get clarity each day on your priorities. You know what it's like when you haven't gotten clarity on your priorities for that day, and you get into the day and you just kind of feel tossed by the waves that day, versus taking 20-30 minutes at the beginning of the day to look at your high priorities for the week, and then to think about that day. What do I need to do? What do I need to accomplish today? If I can only accomplish these 2 to 3 things, what are they? Number 5 is don't overplan your day. This is something I'm very guilty of. I'll fill my day with 6 or 7 meetings, and it's back to back to back to back, and I don't have time to reflect. I don't have time to decompress. I don't have time to stay organized when you have that many meetings, and I don't have time for the unexpected. I don't have time for a new opportunity or a moment where I need to drop things and focus on this for a moment. So just don't overplan your day. Build more margin in and expect the unexpected. Number 6 is relentlessly, and I mean relentlessly, capture your action steps. Few things are as significant to your effectiveness as a leader in your organizational system as identifying an action step that you're responsible for, capturing it in the same place, and acting on it. When we capture our action steps and we act on it, we move the ball forward. When we don't, not only do the teammates around us start doubting our ability to follow through, which in other words, they stop trusting us at a high level, but we also don't see the vision move forward, and things start to move sideways. We start to lose purpose in our leadership. Number 7, make space to reflect at the beginning and the end of the week. I would say plan your week on either Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on your personal rhythm. Take time, though, to plan the whole week. And at the end of the week, include in our planner is a reflection questions that help just ask some clarifying questions that will help us grow and learn as leaders, especially in the area of organization. So jumping into the week, this is our week at a glance. You can see, and it's going to be up on the next 5 or 6 slides. We're just going to walk through the different components. As I've said, it's so significant to start with the vision that God has planted in your hearts. Because when we start with that vision, then we're leading on target and on focus, but we're also leading from a place of passion. Because when we think about vision, it should inspire us, or we're in the wrong place. We're on the wrong seat on the bus. We're in the wrong ministry. We're in the wrong business. We've got to be inspired by the vision that we have for our area of leadership. And so when we start with vision, it's going to naturally connect us to the passion inside that's connected to that vision. It's also going to help us determine priorities based on the vision and not just on whose voice is the loudest. So in my world, in the ministry world, there are so many voices that are so loud for many good things. But the problem is we can't do all those good things. We can only do a few good things. And so what are those few good things that we're called to do? And starting with the vision helps me determine the priorities for my week. It helps me sift through all these good opportunities and only say yes to the few that we should be doing. So we move, once we've kind of taken ourselves, rooted ourselves in the vision, then we move into our 6x8s. And the 6x8s are the 6 most significant focuses over the next 8 weeks. And here's the key: that will move the vision forward. So think about it this way: if you could only do 6 things in the next 8 weeks, if that's the only thing you could do to move the vision forward in your area of leadership, whether it's a church or a parachurch or a business, if you can only do 6 things, what would they be? Those are probably your 6x8s. They're your prioritized projects. And most of the time, these will be outside of the kind of weekly tasks that you do. Now, for instance, there might be a moment where if you're a communicator up on, you're a preacher, or you're communicating, doing presentations weekly, where you want to improve your presentations. They're not going so well. Now, that could be a 6x8 for a focused time, but these are typically 6 targeted projects that aren't ongoing that you want to invest in. So they might be invest in a certain group of leaders, for a 6-month period. You really want to invest in these leaders to help the vision move forward. Or it might be an event that you've got planned that you're trying to execute. Whatever those 6 things are, put them there right underneath the vision, the 6x8s. And then what you want to do is identify the next action step for each one of those prioritized projects. So your 6x8s will change every 2 months. It's 6 focuses over 8 weeks. It'll change every 2 months. And every week, as you sit down to plan your week with our Week at a Glance tool, you want to plan the next step for that project to identify what that is. That way your projects are always moving forward every single week. You've got clarity about what your top priorities are project-wise, and you've got clarity on what the next step is. You move from the 6x8s then to the urgent focuses. So if the 6x8s is your agenda, the urgent tends to be other people's agenda. Now, it could also include things that you need to do for yourself, something that you want to do, but it's just you can only have 6 focuses. But urgent tends to be the voicemails, the phone calls, the meeting requests, the projects that someone else is asking you for, someone else is asking you to participate in. And what you want to do is capture all of those different things right there, brain dump them right there, because what we're going to do now is take our 6x8s and our urgent focuses and combine them together. So these could be phone calls, it could be prepare for a seminar, it could be someone asking for counseling. The key is, if we're going to stay focused as a leader and really be effective and credible, we don't want to just focus on our agenda, but we've got to respond to everyone else's agenda and all their requests. And many times those are really good things. Some of them we might end up saying no to because they're not fit in our focus strength area, but we need to be able to respond to them. Otherwise, we're going to lose credibility if we stop responding to emails and voice messages, and if we're not following through on projects. So we've got our 6x8s, we've got our urgent focuses, and we're moving now to our energy focus. Combine your 6x8s and your energy focus, or your urgent focuses, into an energy grid. You can see they're the high, medium, and low. So we take our 6x8s, we take our urgent focuses, everything that's there, now we've got to prioritize. And we're prioritizing it by energy first, not by calendar. Calendar will be second. First by energy. What do we got to give our best energy to? Which means we have to know ourselves enough to know when our best energy in the week is. When are you at your peak? And at those times, what do you need to be giving yourself to in the day? Right? When are you at your peak? Is it morning? Is it early afternoons? Is it Tuesdays and Thursdays? When are you at your peak? And we want to make sure that at our peak energy, we're giving ourselves to the most significant things that we need to accomplish. So just to note here, some of your 6x8s will be in the high energy focus. Some of them might be in the low energy focus. And some of them may even have to move to next week's Week at a Glance. Because they're just, over a 2-month period, you have these 6 focuses, but that doesn't mean they're all high priority this week. So just know that some of them will be high priority of your 6x8s, some of them will be low priority, and some of them might have to move over to next week's 6x8. So the key is to make sure that every single item from your 6x8s and your urgent focuses, it must be on that energy grid. It must be placed in either high, medium, or low, or it must move to next week's Week at a Glance, and you can put them in next week's urgent focuses. That way, it'll remind you when you get there to make sure that you're including those in the plan for this week. So take your 6x8s, take your urgent focuses, put them in an energy grid, and then stay focused on your high energy items until you're done. Don't start off with your low energy items. Sometimes the low energy items are the ones with least resistance. So those are the ones that we want to do. Start with your high ones. Stay focused. It'll make you a better leader. I struggle sometimes with doing the things that I feel like doing versus the things that are most significant to the vision moving forward. So make sure that you're like me. You're seeking to stay focused on those things and kind of break the habit of doing what's easiest, but do what's most important. After energy focuses, we move to the delegation matrix, and that's really moving from being a great doer to being a great leader. For a long time in my ministry, my leadership context, which is ministry, I was really a great doer. And I've learned to become more of a great leader, but I was a great doer. I was the person to get a ball, move it down the field, but I didn't also always do well involving others. I didn't always do well empowering and delegating to others. So the delegation matrix helps us move from vision to 6x8s to urgent focuses. Now we've got a plan in our energy focuses. And now we can invite others into that plan. We can focus on others' strength areas. Oh, they're really good at this and I'm not. I'm going to ask them if they'll take that. Or our weakness areas. Hey, you know what? I've got this presentation coming up and it's not really my strong suit to get up in front, but Susie's would be a really great person to ask to get up and lead that presentation. I don't need to lead. I'll ask her to do it. So we take our high, medium, and low energy focuses and we think about who can I invite to join me in the vision? Who can I invite to own one of these items and join me in the vision? How can I build a team around me and not just do things myself? So this is a significant shift, and that delegation matrix just helps us lead effectively by thinking about inviting others in early on into these projects and these focuses. Now we're moving to the daily. So that was the week at the glance that we've been focused on. Now we're moving into the daily, and each sheet within our planner has 2 days in it. So you can see the white top is day 1, the bottom is day 2. It's a half page for each day, and we intentionally scaled that down from having a full page from our other planner because we found that the week was just filling up with too many pieces of paper to make it better. Kind of from the planner was just too long, so we've shortened it down, we've condensed it, but we still have the tools in it that we need to be effective. So when it comes to daily, we got to start with our priorities. And looking back at the high energy focuses, this is where the weekly and the daily connect. Look back at your high energy focuses and then set 3 to 5 priorities to accomplish each day. Every person's different, so you've got to know yourself here. Realistically, for me, I probably shouldn't set more than 3 if on the average day, just because of how many meetings I have, and I've got a lot of people that I'm trying to support and encourage and make sure they're supported and that they've got everything that they need. And so I've got a lot of conversations happening. If you're someone who has less interactions for whatever reason with others, you might be able to accomplish 5 or more priorities each day. But for most of us, when we're leading a team, whatever that team looks like, we're going to be interrupted with phone calls and emails and conversations that are good and they need to happen, and we need to be interrupted for them. So it's only set 4 priorities, and you just got to know yourself to know what your capability is and your area of responsibility is for each day. But start with the daily priorities that we've taken from the high energy focuses and move them in and say, okay, out of those high energy focuses, what's my daily priorities today? And you got to know yourself. It's just so key for leading and being effective is to know ourselves. After the daily priorities, we move to the urgent. And the urgent, just like in our weekly planner, those are the urgent items that are going to come up each day. So we've got to be sure to capture them and respond to them. Or if we can't respond to them in the course of the day, then to move them to the action steps, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But every single day, we're going to have more urgent items that are added to our list of things to respond to. And so we've got to not only do it at a week and plan at a week, but then move into every day. Establish our priorities first and then capture all the urgent responses that people are asking of us. And I would just encourage you to build in time to your schedule. Build it in on your calendar for urgent items. I just build in 30 minutes, an hour each day into your schedule to respond to urgent items, knowing that they're going to come, kind of seeing the unforeseen. Next, we move into the action steps. And the action steps are essential to effective and credible leadership. If we're not capturing action steps, we simply won't see the vision move forward. And over time, as I've already said, we're going to lose trust, and our teammates are going to lose trust in us. So action steps are any next steps that we need to act on, responsible for, from our meetings or from a conversation in a hallway or from a conversation with our boss or projects that we're working on, and what's the next step, the action step from that project that comes up that day. So we've got to be relentless about keeping track of our action steps in one place. That way we can look back in our week and just go through and see, okay, all of my action steps are crossed out or there's a check next to them. And you can see with our planner, we put the action steps in the bottom right corner of each day. That way, when you're looking back at your week, you can just flip through really easily and look at each action step box from each day and see if there's anything unchecked or not crossed out. Then you'll know if there's something you've overlooked. So this makes it simple. It's focused. You can have confidence if you're capturing your action steps from each day that you've done them. Action steps are anything left over to do at the end of the day, whether it's from their daily priorities or from your urgent focuses. It's anything left over from that day that you need to do and move into the next day. So a lot of times action steps end up moving into daily priorities on the next day. That's something you got to think about. Maybe an action step left over might not need to be done for 2 days. So you switch 2 days over in the planner and mark it in there on the daily priorities. But make sure that you're capturing your action steps and then that you're acting upon them. You're following through with them. The week in review, the most effective leaders build in reflection at the end of their week and at the beginning. And so if we're not building in reflection, sometimes that can be a sign that we're overloaded in our living. We're overloaded in our leadership. If we say, I'm just too busy to reflect and I'm just too much to do to reflect, that's probably a sign that we're overloaded. A lack of reflection leads to stagnation, right? Because we keep cycling through and doing things the same way they've always been done, but we're not improving. It's not an open system. We're not growing and developing because we're not asking questions and we're not taking time to think, to grow and to make the shifts that we need to make to lead at our peak potential, our highest effectiveness as a leader, as someone who wants to leverage their influence for God's glory and the good of others in the world. We've got to reflect in order to empower healthy learning and changes. And so you can just see the questions there. What can I celebrate this week? Who do I need to follow up with at the end of this week? What needs priority next week? So maybe something got dropped, or maybe something came up that needs priority next week. Before you even head into next week, it kind of helps you get clarity. What did I learn? We've always got to be learning. Leaders have to be learners. And what do I need to do differently? That's a great question for not becoming stagnant in our leadership, but to continuing to grow and develop. Here's some final thoughts, and I'm going to go through these very quickly because there's going to be a PDF of this as well that you can read back through. But plan your week on Sunday night or Monday morning first thing. Plan your day at the beginning of the day. That might seem for some of us like duh, but for others of us, we don't plan. We get into the day, and what we're finding is we're kind of just chaotic throughout the day. Start by planning your day first thing before you do anything else. If you need to kind of hide out for the first 30 minutes of your day, then hide out in a quiet place to do that. Plan time in your schedule to respond to email. Don't let it dictate your day. So don't just wait for an email to come. That means we're not leading with purpose. But instead plan, I'm gonna check my email in an hour and a half, an hour and a half intervals, right? Every 3 hours in the day, I'm gonna check my email. Lead with purpose by leading from vision to 6x8s to the daily. So that's where we want to lead with purpose by starting with vision and connecting it to the daily. Plan more margin into your day than you think you need. This took me forever to learn, and I still struggle with this sometimes. I overplan my days sometimes, but I'm learning more and more and more to plan more margin in my day. And this isn't only important for my day, but it's important at the end of my day when I walk in the door to my house. When I haven't planned in margin, I'm exhausted emotionally because all of a sudden that's the first break of the day. But I planned more margin. I haven't overcooked myself while I was at work or working with my coworkers. Then I find that I have more energy when I come home. I'm more at rest. I'm less wiped out. Not working a system forces the brain to keep open loops. So we don't have a system of organization that we can be confident in. It forces us to keep open loops trying to remember everything happening, and that drains energy. So what we've got to do to be at our creative best is our mind has to be able to rest and not worry. So we've got to work our system, whatever your system is. If it's not the Multiply Leaders Ministry Planner 2.0, then work your system, whatever it is, but work it well. Listen with discernment for God's voice. Lead with awareness of His presence, right? So we're talking about all these things: organization, effectiveness, and kind of efficiency, leading with focus and clarity, which is really important. But nothing substitutes for us leading with discernment of God's voice in our weekly, daily leadership and an awareness of His presence. There's going to be moments that whatever you had planned for that day, God is going to surprise you with something, and we've got to be ready for that. Whether we're a business or a ministry in a leadership kind of context, we've got to be listening for God's voice and not be so rigid in our plan that we aren't aware or aren't open to God interrupting our plans, or that we focus on our plans to the point where we minimize people and our interactions with others. And so there's a real balance there between staying focused on task and moving the ball forward on the mission, the goals, and also though just valuing and honoring people. And sometimes we're going to need to drop our plans to honor people. Sometimes we're going to need to tell people with boundaries that, I can't talk right now. I'm in the middle of this, but I'd love to, connect with you next week. Let's do it then. So we're going to have to use discernment, and that means we're going to have to be tuned in to who God is and who we are in Jesus and who others are, and really ask God for wisdom to lead out of. Head over to MultiplyLeaders.co to look at more tools, and we have a blog with weekly planning tips that will be on it. To get more information, or if you're looking for a coach in weekly planning, if you're looking to purchase the weekly planner, head over to MultiplyLeaders.co. We would love to serve you, or if you have any questions, you can reach out to us there and contact us. We hope Multiply Leaders Weekly Planner 2.0 would be a great tool for you. If not, that's okay. Use your tools that you have, but we'd love to talk to you more if this is a possible tool that you could help you lead with more effectiveness, with clarity, and with focus.